funny how he forgets the existence of a company that he put so much work into. Like, there's a lot of posts, and he had a physical location. How do you forget that? Like, I've had multiple businesses, but I can tell you all of them, and I remember details about all of them, creating them and everything else. And so he has had like 22 businesses, I think, is when I added. We'll talk about that one day too. But yeah, I still don't see completely forgetting them. But, being a scammer and always having to duck and dodge people and the stress of, people outing you and exposing you constantly, I guess it could affect your memory. So maybe that's what's happening. But anyway, we go on to the next post, which, again, this is Darius Crooks. This is him on his Facebook once again on December 14th of 2011. He says, just went through picking out a name for @FreshGo now. Didn't read this article, but good to know that I'm on the right track. I don't know. Maybe somebody should ask him, if he recalls this post from December 2014 where he announced the creation of this company that he totally forgot about. So let's continue, shall we? So then that leads us to the parallel scam that he also had going on, which was the Groupon scam. Now, the Groupon scam actually started with the Cupcake Gallery and moved into FreshGo as well. So there was actually an article done about it back in 2012. What was it, June 25th of 2012. So very interesting that, Crooks says that prior to what he said, the restaurant's closing, he never heard anything. No one ever spoke out about him. This is 2012, but he did forget that this existed, this whole business. I wonder why. It's very, very convenient to forget this big of a scam. Yeah, it's very convenient. Okay, so this article from ChicagoEater.com says, Chicago grocery delivery service FreshGo thought it would be a good idea to use Groupon for a marketing campaign to get the word out. Apparently, the promo soured because FreshGo, which already has low prices, no sales tax or delivery fees, sent out an email this morning apologizing to customers with an offer of $10 off their next two offers. So he's like, sorry, I scammed you. If you pay me again, I'll give you money off. Like, give me more money and I'll give you money off of that money. Really the same tactics that he's using today. He's been referred to as a one-trick pony. Like, it's really true when you look at the pattern that he established way back in 2009 or so and continue here through 2012. He's just been basically practicing and reworking it and tweaking it to get him to the place where he's gotten to be able to duck and dodge out of the consequences of many of these situations. Okay, so next we have an account from someone who was experiencing this whole FreshGo fiasco. FreshGo fiasco. So let's see what they have to say. I really don't know. So it says, wow, I have not thought about FreshGo or Darius in years. It says, I'm looking back on emails about it from 2011, 2012, and it looks like I came to know FreshGo through a Groupon deal offering $20 to $40 in grocery delivery. I placed an order for groceries that was $57, paid $17 in addition to the $20 Groupon. Days later, the Groupon was canceled. I got refunded the initial $20 from Groupon. I was never refunded the $17, though for the groceries I never got. Then a few days or weeks after the initial order, I had another bogus charge from FreshGo for around $98. I was a super broke 20-year-old college student at that time. I don't think I ever got recourse for that money, and I got tired of chasing what amounts to $115. I don't have access to the bank account or records from that period anymore, either to verify that I never got any retribution, though I doubt I did. It looks like I filed with the Better Business Bureau and the Illinois Inspector General about it, and neither were able to get in touch with Darius. No surprise. Definitely no surprise. I'm sure there were others that were in the same situation. I think I also reached out to Sunny Anderson at that time and was possibly one of the people that spurred her efforts to then reach out to him about it. Once she failed and he ghosted her, I definitely realized I was not getting my money back, LOL. That's unfortunate. And this particular story mimics quite a few that I've heard, like where, and this is the stuff that makes me relentless about this whole thing, is the fact that Darius Crooks took advantage of mostly hardworking people, people who, like this person was a broke college student, and he took advantage of them. Like $100 and something, $115 for a college student. I've been there. Was a lot of freaking money. That might have been your money for a week or two, especially depending on the time. So he impacted people's lives in a major way out of greed and selfish gain. And for me, there's no justification in that. And it continues today. And so that is why I'm relentless in my pursuit to get this information out to the public. So anyway, this is one of the stories of one of the FreshGo scam customers, aka victims, aka survivors. So, you know, we're always getting like, where's the victims, you know, etc. I saw a live or a clip or something where he says, no one has come out, right, y'all? I'm like, he is really playing a mind game and indoctrinating those D-wives like a true cult. And I'm like, all these people that have come out in stories, and then he will say, right, because ain't nobody ever came out and said nothing, no victims. And then they agreeing in the comments. And I'm just like, this is sick. They are sick. But anyway, let's get to the next person. So again, remember these posts that this particular post here and the next few are all from the chicagoeater.com, where they posted this article about the Groupon scam, and then people responded below with their individual stories. It's hard to say that, at least I find it difficult to then say these people were lying because of the fact of the level of detail you'll see in these stories. So let's just get into it, and you judge for yourself. Comment below, let me know what you think about this. So this first guest says, worst experience ever. I too fell for the Groupon deal and to date have yet to receive my groceries or a refund. I placed my order on Saturday, January 14th with the promise of a delivery by Tuesday, January 17th per their website delivery information. Several attempts to reach a live person either went completely ignored or the responses came with useless contact information. The code I used worked, and I'm guessing it's because I used the voucher plus an additional amount over that. Like others, I never received a confirmation of an actual delivery time. I just had what they stated on the site. When I finally gave up and started demanding a refund, they finally responded by offering me a discount on my next order. Craziness. Why would I spend more money with them when I have yet to receive my delivery for the first order? Exactly. He does that bull crap now. One call to Groupon was all it took for me to get my refund on the voucher. So no matter how much they try to blame Groupon for this, it's their fault. If they had a better plan of communication, I might have been more patient. I should say I managed to get one person on the phone, a guy named Mike, who claims to be the senior manager. Mike was Darius. There was no team. But remember, the space that he was in at the loft was 300 square feet. If you look at the correspondence, and I'm not sure if I have it here or not, but some of the correspondence, yeah, it's in one of these. But the correspondence says Mike and two ladies who did not exist. And so, yes, Darius was Mike. So this lady got, I don't know, I'm just assuming it's a lady for some reason, but this person got Mike, aka, and maybe I need to add Mike to his aliases. So it's Darius Williams, Darius Crooks Williams, Darius Marquise Williams, and now Mike Williams, I guess. Anyway, so this person says, when I stated who I was and what I wanted, he suddenly couldn't take the call and promised repeatedly to call me back. He never did. Of course he did. So they then go on to say, I have since filed a complaint with the BBB and disputed the charge with my bank. Now they are involved. They will have to deal with them. And when they say them, she means Mike Williams, aka Darius Williams, aka Darius Crooks Williams, and Darius Crooks. Okay, and so this was posted on January 26th of 2012. So as we see, again, so many patterns here. It's very interesting when we start to as we're, doing a retrospect and going back to these earlier stories and the receipts that are included with all of them, to see the parallel of how we got here today, where a couple months ago when the whole thing about the BBB made a public warning announcement against Darius Crooks LLC, and reported that he had an FBBB rating, the reason he didn't really care or doesn't care is because you can look way back to this situation situations back in 2012 and before, where he's realized nothing ever comes of that. And now he doesn't even bother registering with them. He ignores their existence and creates t-shirts that says BBB these nuts. And this has just come to mind as someone, with an early childhood ed background. This is reminiscent of a child with behavioral problems. And if those behavioral problems go unchecked and no one is working on closing the gaps with those children and having consequences and structure and all of those things, they just progressively get worse. And then they grow into adults who are wild and then become criminals, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I see with Darius Crooks, where all of these years of scamming, low-level penny scams, low-level penny crimes, he was not being checked. He was not being held accountable. He was able to slip through the cracks countless times. He's become aware of that. And so now he's empowered to think that he's unstoppable. And in a way, until now, this season, he has been. And the question is this the season? When did the authorities stop looking from behind the scenes and actually step in to bring this to an end? And I don't have the answer for that. But let's get into, the other people who were, victimized by this crook that we know as Darius Crooks. Okay, so this person goes on to say, apparently FreshGo still hasn't refunded people any money they owe for groceries that went undelivered. They've deleted their Facebook and Twitter accounts, although we still have access. And then they say attempts to contact them via their webpage go unanswered. There's also a report of them allegedly charging someone's card without that person's authorization. Looks like Darius Williams is literally trying to take money and run. Yes, that's exactly what he was doing. Exactly. They were calling it way back then. Because this was his pot of gold or his seed money for his great escape from Chicago, running from all of this and all of the other, Cupcake Gallery investors and us with the food truck and all the other, the local holla. But also he had people investing in like the cupcake mix and, that was some stuff. And so he's now, this scam was like his get enough money quick in order to move to a different state and run from it. And so that's what he did. So this person here, who actually has their name here, says they charged my card $98.34 2 weeks after I placed an order and authorized a $2 charge. What a scam. Can this be reported to the police as theft? Yeah, it should have been, because this is credit card fraud for sure. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading because I know, of course, I don't want to give any spoilers right now. But anyway, so this next person says, I have also been fraudulently charged for the same amount. So this is funny because I mentioned this videos ago, like a long time ago, where I was saying that he allegedly had charged multiple cards, hundreds of people's cards, $90-something. He kept it under $100. And so me not being a criminal, I didn't really know, but I was like, there has to be something to this. Does it keep it from being a federal crime because it's under that? But you would think, and I did, someone mentioned a while back, through this sort of conversation, that really the totality of the theft itself from stealing from hundreds of people really should amount to, that's thousands of dollars in credit card scamming that was done allegedly by Darius Crooks. So again, this person goes on to say, I have also been fraudulently charged for the same amount, $98.34, plus the charge for my FreshGo Groupon order of $2.53. I have been refunded my Groupon purchase. That's because Groupon's legitimate. Nevertheless, I believe Groupon should acknowledge and apologize for their bad deal with FreshGo. They didn't know. I thought that Groupon had kind of rectified this in a way, but I could be wrong. But they didn't know that they were getting into a dirty deal with FreshGo, aka Darius Crooks. And the crazy part is that there was also some issues with the Cupcake Gallery with similar stuff, like people buying the Groupons and then he wasn't actually fulfilling their orders and all kind of stuff. And so Groupon stopped working with him. The thing was, as he created these new companies, Groupon wasn't knowing that this is the same person we kicked off in that other business. And even after this FreshGo fiasco, years later with the restaurants, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe it was Soul Craft Chicago or both or whatever, there are people reporting that there was an issue with that Groupon as well. So he learned, how to work that system, and, it is what it is. So this next person says, what a scam. Although I did receive partial order from FreshGo, all calls, emails, or Facebook posts regarding missing items went unanswered. Groupon did refund my money for the purchase Groupon, but unfortunately FreshGo already had my credit card info. Since January 17th, I have been fraudulently charged by them, one for $3 and one for $98.43 on February 3rd. Now this is interesting where you see these two charges, and the other person, if I'm not mistaken, the other person mentioned similarly like it was a $2 charge or something. This was probably the $3 charge, and the low dollar charge was maybe him testing to see if it would go through. And then when he saw it would go through, he then hit it for the larger amount. Such a scammer. Ooh, yeah, it's kind of creepy. Ugh, like to be that dirty. So then this person goes on to say, I have placed no additional orders with them and never got my missing groceries. Darius answered the phone provided by my credit card company, and he denied it was him. Denied knowing FreshGo. They go on to say, if you've ever heard his voice, it is a memorable one. I think we all, any of us who are familiar, would definitely agree with. I definitely could pick his voice out of a crowd, 100%. They then say, thank God my credit card company removed the charges. There's no place to go. You can't file a complaint because there is no registered business in his name. For all of you who thought you missed out, be glad you did. What a headache. The website was taken down yesterday morning. The phone numbers and email addresses on the site have been changed 3 times in 2.5 weeks. Facebook site no longer exists. Another site shows a thread of people who were all charged on February 3rd in the $90 range. Looks like he did take the money and run. Yes. Absolutely. So this is interesting. They talk about that other thread because I think the other thread is the one that I saw back in 2012 that someone sent me, because this was, I remember clearly someone sending me, I don't know if, I think it was the link or something to the website as a text message, and I was baffled because at that point we hadn't been talking. I hadn't talked to him, I don't know, maybe a month or two, a couple months or whatever it was. And so he was off my radar. I knew it was stuff going on. I think at that point I had heard that he disappeared. I did know he disappeared because he lived in my friend's building. So I knew that he had disappeared, but I didn't know how. I didn't know that why. I didn't know that he was running from this kind of scam. And so the pieces started to come together for those of us who knew him personally, and we got this circle, and then people just started sharing it. Like, this is what he'd been up to. This is how he got the money to just leave like he did. Craziness. Man, that's crazy. Can y'all imagine? Okay, so this next person says, this company is a total fraud. After not fulfilling my initial order, they then charged $95.43 to my credit card a couple weeks later. Now they won't respond to my emails. The website, Facebook account, Twitter account has now been taken down. I sure hope my credit card company will let me dispute and reverse these fake charges. Craziness. And when you think about this, I don't know. I think even back then we were like, ooh, he's going to really get in trouble for this because this is like committing a federal crime. And I don't know, maybe he even did it across state lines. I'm not sure. Maybe he did it all in Chicago and then left for New York. But the interesting thing is that he was able to get away with charging all of these people's credit cards. And to this day, he has never been held accountable for this situation here. Just the FreshGo piece, not all the other stuff. Just the FreshGo piece. So when you look at this, being the beginning origins of him seeing how much he could get away with and not ever getting caught up, you can almost see how he became the predator that he is today. This shows it. This is the origins of it. This is the origins of him being able to get away with things. So next person. This person says, the company has been taking money out of my bank account unauthorized. He has my credit card number from a purchase I made. I had to cancel my credit card. He doesn't answer the phones or emails. This guy's a thief. That's horrible. 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 So now this starts to get interesting. So this next layer, as we close this out, gets very interesting. So this person says, and I love this because it gives us like a play-by-play of what was happening back then. Because it's hard for me to regurgitate what I experienced back then. But here is accounts from those who were involved, even beyond me, which is great. So anyway, this person says, this guy has resurfaced. Check out DariusCrooks.com. He's resurfaced on Facebook as well. Darius Everyday Fresh Williams. So that was before it became Darius Cooks Williams, because he played with iterations of that name. Then it says, I was shocked to hear of his apparent scam. I subscribed to his Facebook page after seeing him on Cooking for Real with Sonny Anderson on the Food Network. So again, as Sonny said, he was actually able to grow his platform from appearing on her show. She was the catalyst for giving him the level of notoriety that he ended up with, to scam with. So this person goes on to say, so has he cleared up this FreshGo mess, or is he acting as though it never happened? Based on the Black Enterprise interview, we have the answer. Y'all go ask him. Do he remember now? So this here, because now, mind you, this is months later. He has disappeared. Is this months? Yeah, months later. He has disappeared. He scammed hundreds. And so when I say hundreds of people in Chicago, I've had people who thought I was exaggerating. I am not exaggerating. There were hundreds. There were, off the top of my head, there were at least 300 to 400 people that he scammed in Chicago. And so he scams them, them and us. He then runs off to New York and then starts to try to reinvent himself. And he's doing it virtually online, as if everyone's going to forget all the harm and chaos he caused months prior. This is how he does. But anyway, because it's more even to that. So under his YouTube video, after he's resurfaced, so now he's, doing YouTube video, cooking videos again, like nothing's happened. Someone named Jen Ray comments under his YouTube video saying, Darius Williams is a scam artist. He used FreshGo, his grocery business, to obtain credit card information from customers. After shutting down the web page, he made unauthorized charges to several different cards, hundreds. If you call and confront him, he claims that he is not Darius and has never heard of FreshGo. Nice try, pal. Right, nice try, pal. If you are going to play the mistaken identity card, maybe you shouldn't have lame cooking videos of yourself all over YouTube. People can recognize your voice. The funny part is saying lame cooking videos. They're still lame. Okay, so this person says, oh my God, I went to school with you, Ladarius. Douglas Middle, how you been? I'm loving your spoken word. Inbox me. Talk to you later. That's interesting. And the reason I even put this in here is because this person, Jen, is talking about him being a scammer, and then this person comments that. And because Darius has so many bots, I'm not sure if he did that himself in order to try to break up some of the negative things that may have been going on underneath his videos. Because, he does that. So this person then responds to that person and says, cool, looks like you went to school with a liar and a thief. Nice. I love this Gen Ray person. Where are you, Gen Ray? Okay, and so as we see, this Gen Ray person was on Darius's ass during this time. So much so that they even went on different platforms trying to expose Darius and get the word out that he was a scammer. So they even went over to Twitter, and so they said, at FreshGo now, he also has Darius T. Williams. I tweeted him there, and all of a sudden, he's set to private. And now his thing is to block people. So well, he goes private and he blocks people. That's to keep the truth out. We got to keep the truth out. Like, we got to raise up the drawbridge so the truth can't come in. So then they go on to say, good for you. This guy is totally trying to take the money and run. And then next, did anyone file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau? This guy is a joke. And then they tagged both FreshGo Now and Darius T. Williams and Everyday Cooking, which was his moniker before he moved over to Darius Crooks. And it goes on to say, according to Yelp reviews and Twitter, you owe people refunds. What a scam. Yep. What a scam. So when he goes online and he says all of this buzz about him, he's never heard before, it just recently came up because people are hating on him. It's about confusion with the restaurants and people called him a scammer from that, or the credit repair. Darius Crooks knows for a fact that that's a flat out lie, just like his entire life. Because the truth is, the people that did have the strength to speak out over the past decade in regards to his many crimes and schemes, none of them had a large enough platform or the right demographic to get the attention of the mass public. But that was until the Kitchenista last summer, who he also tried to harass with his bullying back in 2014 by having his D-Hive attack her and some colleagues when she had a smaller platform. And when he got sassy and full of himself and tried to pull that stunt again back in 2021, the Kitchenista was ready. And at that point, she had a large enough platform to strike back in epic proportions. And that's exactly what she did. And that's exactly the reason why you're seeing all of the commotion and all of the coverage of Darius Crooks across all media platforms and people's conversations even at this point. And speaking of bullying and harassing, let's read this story. This person says, also now getting caught up on the latest of his scams and hearing about the bullying and harassment of his victims. Oddly, back in 2012, not long after that all happened with FreshGo, I had anonymous numbers texting me the craziest and scariest stuff. About that same time, someone made a fake Facebook page of me and posted terrible and salacious things. Definitely a guy. I basically went dark on social media after those experiences and continue to maintain a high level of autonomy even now. I never found out who did that or why. Now you have me wondering if those experiences were connected to my FreshGo complaints and the efforts against Darius a decade ago. So this is, again, the pattern. Interesting. And again, the harm that has been done to so many people. You still can see this pattern today. So what you see here is a prime example, again, of his pattern of harassing and doxing people. And you see even here where they're saying there were anonymous phone calls and texts to them, and then someone created a fake Facebook page and posted terrible and salacious things about them. We still see that today coming from Darius Crooks. And the posting of children's pictures because their adult parent has a problem with him, and blasting and doxing people and putting their personal information out there, putting his employees' check stub with address and full information out on his Instagram lives to his audience. All of these things originated, it's really at his core how messy he is. But you see, way back then in 2012, he was doing that to anyone who was speaking out against him. And he was able to get away with it because these were normal, everyday people who didn't have platforms, who were not public figures, who are used to or would be used to that type of backlash or people talking about them or posting things. Now, what has occurred is the rabbit has the gun. So what you see when there are various social media posts, what you see in these videos that I create and other creators create YouTube videos on him, and people drag him and people say salacious things about him and terrible things about him. But what it is karma. It really is karma. And some people say, let God fight your battles, or let God handle that. Have you ever considered that this is God handling it? God uses his people to carry out his will as well. So, ta-da! So this here, I don't know. It's sad. It's sad because this person's life was obviously affected, so much so that they don't even use social media in the same way because of this experience of being scammed by someone. And when they tried to get justice for the situation, that person bullied them and harassed them to scare them off. Done it many times. There are hundreds of stories about these type of situations, and it always worked. And it hasn't worked with the coalition. The Darius Crooks coalition, ain't nobody scared on this side. We just ain't. But anyway, so this also then leads into damage control. So this is what Darius does. We can see it in the upcoming stories I'll have of the other businesses and the other scams. So this here is an example of one of his first attempts at damage control when the heat got on him, when he effed up in epic proportion and people started to come down on him. He then has to try to justify the situation and rectify it, not in a moral or righteous sense, but in the sense that serves him best.
Hey, poppin' like I'm supposed to. Watch out for the people that ain't close to. Speak a little something you could toast to. I ain't tryna hear about what you won't do. Moving like I'm into. Hit the ground running like the rent do. Speak a little something that you're into. I ain't tryna hear about what you been through. Like hold up, say what's the hold up. I got the pack, who got the roll up? I'm tryna pull up. It seem like every time I show up, it gotta go up. See the drip, they see the glow up. Oh, now they know us. See, it's funny how my pockets out of shape, but I fit for the flex. Clear the phone call, hit my chick with a text. Parlay through the bird with my drip from the jets. Save a couple hundred, buy your bitch with the rest.